How's it going, everybody? And welcome back to the latest Hall of Film podcast. And today we are talking about 1946 Frank Capra's masterpiece, It's a Wonderful Life. Now, today, my two guests are one returning immediately. It is Klarissa from I've Seen That One, and it is Sara Shea from Shea Cinema, who I'm so excited to have these two people. They are two of my favourite people in the film space, and talking about It's a Wonderful Life is going to be incredible. So the first question for both of you is, tell us why you, first of all, we know about you, Clarissa, but Sarah, tell us a bit about yourself and your journey into film.
Yeah, so I'm Sarah from Shea Cinema, which is a podcast I do with my father. So my father was heavily influenced my journey into film. I grew up watching all kinds of things, stuff like this movie in particular, but also some more controversial films when I was very, very young. No holds barred with my dad and movie watching. And so our podcast is us watching in chronological order every film ever nominated for the Academy Award for Best Picture. It's a lovely, fun journey because we get to talk about stuff that we love, but also stuff that we've never seen before. And I feel like my vision or my perspective on the world at large would not be what it is today without the influence of watching movies with my dad. It's colors pretty much every aspect of my life, and not in a cinephile necessarily way, but a critical thinking, picking things apart, appreciating art kind of way, if that makes sense. So, obsessed with movies, but in a weird nerd, I don't know, it's a weird nerdy type of stuff. I always want to know the behind the scenes facts and the history just as much as I want to be entertained, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah,
I think
I
that's
love it.
always the mark of a film fan, or when you kind of care more about behind the scenes stuff than just watching the film because you want to learn more about each film you watch. And Clarissa, you can start us off with this question. Why did you select It's a Wonderful Life and select to talk about it?
This movie is one that I also grew up with. Mom really loved Golden Age films, and so we grew up watching them. But this was one that we watched every Christmas, and I think that it was more of a like cognitive appreciation as I grew up for it. Because I remember like Christmas Day laying on the floor in front of the TV with my feet up on the entertainment stand as I'm like playing with my new presents and watching and just not like fully taking in this movie. And I would like get into the story and then I'd like go back to my toys. And so it's like I have those super early memories. And then I think oh gosh, I think it was probably the Christmas when I was 7 or 8. Yeah, probably 8. I was like second grade. And I started to just really listen to it more and I started crying. And I was like, how has it been that I've watched this every Christmas my whole life? And I'm suddenly feeling this like amazing feeling of, wow, life is so precious. And it's like I'm seeing that at such a young age. And I think that was like, it was just one of the first movies that I watched growing up that like I started to feel the serious themes and recognize them without knowing. Now, like Sarah's talking about like this analytical side of like viewing films and like digesting them. And it's like, oh, I don't know how to like express what I'm feeling with this, but I'm seeing that movies are making me feel things. And this is one of those movies that's making me really feel things. And every year after that, I've cried watching it and cried thinking about it. I will probably cry talking about it. It's just so good. It's so important and tender. So, yeah.
Sarah, how about you? What's your connection with it, and why did you want to talk about it?
I always want to talk about old movies because of course I do. And why wouldn't I want to talk about one of the biggest iconic movies of all time? This movie still packs such a punch. Most people hopefully still know this movie. So yeah, like count me in. But this movie is absolutely similar to Clarissa. I grew up watching this movie. This was on TV a lot when I was little, before movie rentals were really a thing. And then, of course, I think it was one of the first VHS tapes that my dad bought for us when we finally had our own VHS player. And he loves Frank Capra, which by now I think most people know, and that's going to come out more and more as we continue on our own podcast journey. But this is a film that, yeah, I basically don't remember the first time I ever saw it. It's part of my DNA at this point. There are times where growing up, I distinctly remember it being on and me not paying attention to it fully, like Clarissa, you said, not necessarily on Christmas Day, for example, but it's on and I know it and I can talk along with it. And then other times where I'm just sitting in front of it, just absolutely glued to the screen. And pretty early on watching it, I could see how it affected my dad emotionally. And it affected me emotionally, but it's a much different feeling as a child to watch this movie, and then as like a teenager, and then as someone in young adulthood, and then someone in middle age, then as a mother, now becoming an old crone. All of those things, it has filled different phases of my life, and there are different things that I notice about it. And we can gripe all we want about the setting and some of the what fine, 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 fine. There's so much good stuff and it still holds up, and it is still so powerful in its message. This is the type of film that people deride Frank Capra for. It's Capricorn, right? They call it corny, all of that type of stuff. But it is, yeah, emotional. Just thinking about it, it makes me incredibly emotional. And this movie, as dark as some of the themes are, it is ultimately a warm hug. And this movie, it is inextricably tied to my dad. So anytime I think about this movie, hear about this movie, somebody mentions something about this movie, I immediately think about my dad. So that's my relationship with this movie.
Yeah. I just think because I wasn't a person who watched like a ton of films when I was younger, like I didn't really explore outside of what I already enjoyed. So the first time I ever watched It's a Wonderful Life was last Christmas, and I cried. I cried.
Yeah.
And then I watched it today and I cried. So that's just going to be a running theme for the rest of my life. And it's just, I feel it's one of those films, if you've not seen it, and you'll have somebody in your life, whether it's a family member or a friend who has seen it, anybody who's seen this will tell people who haven't seen it to go and watch it. I think it's just one of those films that everybody would recommend. And a question again to both of you, Clarissa, you can start off, is what do you think about the film has allowed it to resonate with people for so long and stand the test of time?
Honestly, I think that's almost an easy question for me because we all talk about like the emotional connection that we have to it and just the way that it resonates with us. But this film addresses the importance of life. I think it was one of the first like movies to really bring in like, hey, you mean something. You mean something to everyone. The way that you interact with people's lives is important. It's crucial. Things are really hard, but you are worth it. And I think that is a timeless theme. That's a timeless tale. Like people need to hear that. People need to know that. And you see, I think we see this like series of really unfortunate and scary events happening in George's life. And we see the way that he comes out of it resiliently after seeing, you know what? I do make a difference. I do contribute. Like I am important. People need me, and I think too, like he didn't realize how much of an impact he was making on people's lives, because there was so much of, and even as audience members, when at least for me, when I started to be a little bit more cognizant of this movie, I started to notice like there are things happening that he wants to do, and he feels a little held back by certain things, and it's like, oh, you kind of feel bad, like, oh, I wish he could go travel, I wish he, got to spend the money for his honeymoon, but then it's like, you know what? The language shifted even for the audience. So the way that the narrative is told is so meaningful because it's like, yes, we saw that, we felt that, we wanted that for him, but he was doing so much service while he was mourning the ties that he had, right? And I think that that's something that we can relate to. We all want to do something, and not every single thing that we want to do in our lives works out, but it might be for the best, or like look at the way that it benefits the people around you or yourself. And I don't know, this is so tangential because this movie is just too good, but I just think that it is still so deeply relatable. We're not in the time where the banks are shutting down and closing their doors like they were in this movie, and historically, like, we aren't in a war where people are, most of the people in our lives are gone or not with us, and seeing, that influence. But I think historically, even those things and taking them into context, it's still just as relevant. You know, It's one of those films that you see the historical context at the time, but it breaks out of the time period to be eternal.
Yeah. Yeah. I think as well, it's just such a human story. It doesn't matter what time in decades time, it will always be relatable for that purpose. And I feel like, especially nowadays, a lot more things are becoming more shallow and afraid to tackle stuff like this. So the fact it's a Christmas film, you think of Christmas films now, it's rom-coms or it's just comedies or weirdly action films as well. You don't get something that goes this hard and then breaks you at the end anymore, because everybody just wants a laugh and nobody kind of wants to be reminded of things like this genuinely happen to everybody daily. And just what a beautiful journey, obviously, George's arc is in this film. And Sarah, how about you? What do you think?
Clarissa did such a beautiful summarization of why this movie is so powerful. And I think that she's absolutely right. Knowing that we matter as individuals is incredibly important. Yes, there's a religious theme to this film. We've got angels, we've got God, we've got the angel gate, all of this type of stuff. But I think even the most hard-hearted atheist can still take away a message of positivity and an uplifting sense of life is valuable, just in the consideration of how way leads on to way, and things are connected, right? You are following a path of your life, whether it's destiny or not. Every step that you take has an influence on what has already happened and what is going to happen. And so much of that is explored in art throughout human history, and yet this somehow, within a very small amount of time, tells a tale of someone's life and the myriad ways in which he influences other people or positively affects these people in ways that he was absolutely unaware of. And deep down, the message is fundamentally how you treat people matters, right? Be kind, because you never know what someone could be going through. You never know how that can have a thread throughout their lives. One of the most fascinating things, as you said, oh gosh, okay. One of the most fascinating things that you said, Morgan, right, is that this is a Christmas movie that goes really hard, but it's also very intense and it's very dark and very bleak because it's dealing with these real life issues. And we don't really get that anymore. Or I think at this time and place, we don't expect it anymore. We really want the escapism. We really want Christmas time, the new year, to be a way for us to get away and not have to think about things. Holiday and seasonal depression, and not just like weather depression, but because of the season of the year, right? Holiday depression is a real thing, and people suffer from it all of the time. So much when people are being joyous and happy and yay, there are always people more than you know and more than you are aware of who are alone on the holidays, who don't feel like it is worth living to see the next day because they feel so alone and isolated and sad. And this movie puts that into stark relief. As a teacher, this is a hard time of year because bad behavior in students actually starts to go up right before Christmas break. Why is that? It's because Santa's coming and they need to behave. No, it's because typically there's a break from school and they may not have the best home lives, and school being a safe place for them, without realizing it, they start acting out because they don't want to be home for the holidays. They want to be anywhere but home. And we have this beautiful fantasy vision that Christmas time is beautiful and wonderful for everybody. And it's not. It's not for kids. It's not for adults. I mean, that not always, right? And so this film dares to talk about that and show that, right? When we see certain scenes where, where George comes home right before he freaks out, right? They're decorating the tree and he's just losing it, right? He's looking around, everyone else is happy and he is in ultimate despair, in such despair that he is ready to kill himself, even as he is watching his wonderful, beautiful family filled with joy. And that contrast is so real and so human and so devastating to watch. Now, nobody would want to watch this movie if we saw that, right? And then there's a conclusion where he dies and people are sad. That's not, but you need to, in order for the beautiful ending to carry any weight, it needs to have in stark relief these scenes of someone who is absolutely broken.
Mm-hmm. I
Yeah,
agree.
it's like, I think as well with modern films, the main thing I often take away, I think the biggest people who do that are action films where they say the stakes are like, oh, the end of the world's on the line, and then you watch it and it's like, no, a city got destroyed. That was what that, the stakes don't match what the message is trying to say. Whereas this, the stakes far, I think, exceed even what the message is going to say. Um, and yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think you nailed it. I think the closest we've got to something as an emotionally kind of devastating Christmas film recently that has a uplifting ending is The Holdovers. I think that does
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one of the only Christmas films that have come out recently. And when recently, I mean probably the last 20 years, that's going to be a Christmas classic because it actually does what a Christmas film, I think, at its heart should do, where it's got a really telling message, but it does it in a really well delivered way, and it's not taking shortcuts or just recycling the same message every single time. Question for you, Clarissa, is how do you think this film influenced the industry for obviously films and filmmakers and actors?
Well, I think it's so interesting because this movie did not do well when it first came out. And so it wasn't one of those movies that immediately was like, wow, oh my gosh, like everyone go to the theaters. Like they kind of thought it was a dud. And then years later it flourished. And I think that it was one of those movies that came out to at the right time for the wrong audience. It's like I think that's such an interesting thing to, like, recognize is timing. It's almost like the Van Gogh thing, right? Like, he wasn't appreciated in his time, but we love him now, and historically, he is so important. And I think now it's like we see movies like this, and there are multiple out there that just weren't appreciated in their time, and I think we're gonna see that in the future of movies that came out during our time, but this I think it just people started to see, wow, we need to be talking about this. And I didn't look too much into it historically, but this movie, I mean, it's referenced in dozens of other movies. It's referenced in TV. There are moments where I think the shows have even done episodes like this where it's like, what would life be without you? And it's like it would be very different. It wouldn't be the same. And so like this kind of theme and formula that it created, uh it influenced it going forward, but I think it's so interesting that it didn't at the time. And looking at that and really it's one of those things where it's like, "Oh man, I wish that people had seen this and appreciated it in its time." And of course, like we feel that, but I feel that now too. Like I really hope people appreciate this forever and they see this going forward, you know? And I think that it's got that timeless feel to it, but I think that this is one of those films that really kind of disrupts a normal plot structure, especially for the time. And you have kind of, I mean, really, if you were looking at a normal plot plan of we've got like exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, it's like, where is that climax? Because I'm feeling that at so many points in this story, and it's disrupting it because we're looking at a life. We're not looking just at the hero's journey, and I'm sure we can interpret it that way, and there are things like, of course, Sarah and I know you can argue anything, right? You can argue anything in a paper, you can write a paper about anything and really say, "This is how it's done, this is the structure." But I think that there could be like 10 or 15 of those papers, and you would sell me on, "This is the climax," because we're looking at a life. We're not looking at one section of the journey. We see George Bailey from a kid, from being little, and his whole story, which contributes to his entire life. And so I think that that is incredibly influential in film across the board and in the industry. It's one of those things to look at and be like, we can do this. I think another film that did this really well is Past Lives, looking at them as kids and then as young adults and older adults and seeing this lifespan where there isn't exactly a climax or a rising action or anything like that. It's just life. And this is how we're absorbing it and how we're experiencing it. And even as George, you could say like him diving in to the water off the bridge could be, but I'm like, no, we still have, it could be that ending when they're all together and it's quintessential Christmas and love. Like that ending could be our climax. I don't know. But anyway, I just think it disrupts it so nicely. And that's really inspirational of like people were looking at that then and saying, we can do that. We can do that. It doesn't have to be this main one thing or like this main structure, this formula, this, I don't know. So anyway, I just think that that's such a great way of looking at it. And honestly, I wish I knew more specifically about the industry to answer this. Sarah, do you know more?
Well, not necessarily. I think it's what you're saying about them disrupting the timeline and like the narrative structure is true because even Clarence as a character is like, why am I looking at him as a little boy? And they're like, because
Yeah.
you need to know the whole story. And he's like, that why? Okay, we got to pull in this guy, and there's so much narrative structure going on up in heaven about how they're going to bring in Clarence and all of these things. There's more going on behind the scenes, right? In anyway, so I think it is worth noting, heavily noting that yeah, this movie was more or less considered to be a flop, and it's already 10 plus years since Capra's amazing It Happened One Night. That was such a phenomenal success that he's then riding high. He had a lot of influence on Hollywood when that movie came out, and particularly in the year before when he made Lady for a Day. So that's actually one of the new episodes that Dad and I are going to have coming out really soon. Definitely, if you're listening to this episode, hopefully it'll be out soon. Go and find my dad's episode on Lady for a Day, because it kind of breaks down what's going on in Hollywood, what's going on with Capra that leads him to make It Happened One Night, and then gives him the influence and the power to make a film like this, It's a Wonderful Life, and still pack a wallop. He was looking to do some different things after having done a ton of work with war propaganda and things like that in World War II. And so this comes out, a year after the end of the war. And he's doing something that he thinks is really going to fulfill everyone's heart, and it doesn't land correctly. And maybe it doesn't land correctly because it is so emotional. And yet later on, it needed to have time to marinate, and it just exploded. Part of the reason was because they were showing it on television, right? And so it was just on constantly, and people were watching it in the same way that like The Shawshank Redemption became popular because it was put on cable. And in terms of its effect on the industry, we kind of have to sit there and think, well, so what sort of effect? Is it narrative structure? Is it type of film that it's influencing? Is it ensemble casting? What is the long-standing influence? And it's kind of hard to say, other than saying it has permeated so much of global popular culture at this point, in a way that A Similar Christmas Story has also done. A Christmas Carol, for example, this is basically a modern retelling of that, right? And there are modern retellings explicitly of A Christmas Carol, which are fully delightful, which maybe we'll talk about later. But this is still a journey of an individual who is being taken on that journey by supernatural forces against their will, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Specifically to give them a perspective that they have absolutely missed out on. Some people who are taken on that journey are more crotchety than others. Scrooge, right? Okay, but nobody's cheering for Scrooge at the beginning, right? And yet somehow we're all rooting for George Bailey. So in terms of influence, what is it? What is it? Is it the filmmaking? Is it the directing? Is it what? And I think it's almost intangible because it's kind of everything. So if it's everything, it's kind of nothing, right? Um, yeah, it's part. I think it's part of our reference point. We can't think about Christmas time, I think, without thinking about this movie, or at least not in the world that I exist in. Probably my students don't know that this movie exists, which I want to fix that, but I can't control everything, right? So
Mm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Mm.
And you mentioned about Clarissa, the influence on TV shows as well. Like even something as stupid as Family Guy did, take where like similar when George gets taken on this perspective of, oh, look at the influence you've made. Like I think it happens to Peter in Family Guy, and similar things happen. And also talking about the influence as well, I think of the film like a film that come out this year, The Life of Chuck. I know obviously it's a Stephen King novel, but very similar. It's about a guy's life and how he impacted everybody, and it's done in 3 parts. Personally, I thought it was really bad because again, the stakes and everything, and just how it's executed. I think that's where real Capra's influence can be put down to. Just I don't think anybody else could pull this off as well as he did. um, he just got it, and he got how to make it, and it was perfect. It really is. Also, you mentioned about it being a flopper when it originally come out. It actually originally bankrupted the studio it worked with as well. And it wasn't until the copyright expired, it went on TV in the 70s, and then that was that. Um, So I think it just needed like a different generation really to see it and go, oh, how did everybody miss this? And somehow everybody
Mhm.
did. Um,
So wouldn't that be funny, because then it's the children of essentially the filmmakers who are the ones who are, so it's essentially the baby boomer generation who are just like sucking it up and just being absolutely in love with it, maybe as a way to connect with their parents, right? This is essentially the greatest it's a movie about not the greatest generation, even though it's made post World War II, right? George Bailey is growing up at the turn of the century, right? And so then we're really talking about the silent generation or the lost generation. And so it's dealing with a whole bunch of different components and generational relationships and appreciation with storytelling and all of that type of stuff as well.
yeah.
Yeah.
Clarissa, were there any? Well, I know there will be many, but what specific scenes, quotes, and moments stood out for you?
Whoa. Um, Honestly, I think really like our main part where George is sobbing on the bridge saying, I want to live again. I want to live again. I mean, I will cry even just talking about that. But it's just so powerful because he's just shaking. He misses his kids. He can't find them. And like, I cannot imagine how terrifying that would feel. But it's just the most beautiful thing to hear. I want to live again. And to hear it from somebody who we are so emotionally invested in. I mean, at that point, he feels like a family member. He feels like a family member. You've watched him grow up. You watched his family. You intimately know him. And you hear that, and it's like your heart is at peace. And it doesn't matter what's going to come. It doesn't matter that Mr. Potter's going to come knocking on his door or the police or whoever. It's like he's gonna be okay, and we just care that he's with us and he's here, and I mean us, like, as an audience, that's how intimate this movie is. It's us, it's we're in his story, and I think, like Sarah said, that kind of hyper awareness of why am I watching this story and why am I starting when he's little and all that fun, like, it's so intentional from the beginning. That builds so much into we are also the surveyors. Are we other people near Clarence while he's getting this spiel listening? Like who is the audience? Who are we in this like voyeurism of George Bailey's life? And anyway, so I just think that that is such a quintessential moment. But I also there's just so many pieces of this that I feel like are really real. I love when he's really dejected and he goes to Mary's house and she just wants to flirt with him. She wants to have a nice little moment and he's grouchy and then they end up actually having a nice moment of like, I could be vulnerable with her and she's here for me. And I think that's a sweet little moment too. Um, I really love the hot dog quote. I will always quote the little hot dog and like my family every 4th of July here when we're all out at the grill and we're eating hot dogs. It's like hot dog and everyone will yell it. So that's a favorite of mine, just being silly. And when I mean, I don't know, I think this movie is like so quotable and people don't realize it unless they know it really intimately. Like I was buying a suitcase and I'm like, I want a big one. Like, it's just I think about this movie constantly. And that is what makes it hard to like pick these specific moments. But really I think the end is probably my favorite. Like right next to I Want to Live Again is when they are all singing Auld Lang Syne. That is a song that I think really deserves to be brought back. It's so special and sweet and we're listening to them and that's when you just have the tears in your eyes of like he means so much and they love him so much. And it's like you love them so much. You see everyone, you see them and we're invested in them too. Oh, it's just so good. So those are my favorite moments, favorite quotes. I can't say the whole thing. That's a cop out, but yes, this
Yeah,
whole movie.
yeah. It's funny. Old
Specifics. It's allowed now.
Old Lang's High is actually what like we always sing at New Year's Day, like when the fireworks are going off. That's
Oh,
what everyone sings here. So You
I'm
guys
moving
need
there.
to bring it on 4th of July or something when there's a lot of fireworks.
Yeah.
You supposed to not like us on the 4th of July though, since we're rebelling
Eh,
against you every year?
it's fine. It's fine.
Bridge.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, how about you, Sarah?
Well, yes, so this is a problem, right? There's so many
The
good
whole
things
movie.
the whole movie. So I think that I keep thinking of kind of the big things that I remembered about this movie as a kid that really stuck out to me as a child. Him saving his brother in the ice.
Mm.
Ooh, the dance competition where they almost fall into the pool a million times and they have no idea what's going on, and then they do. And also because Alfalfa is in that scene, which I always loved having my dad remind me, there's Alfalfa. You know him from when he was little in Little Rascals.
Mm.
The courtship with Mary, right? Her ending up in the bushes without her clothes on. Okay, them making wishes at the house, their beautiful kiss when they're listening to the phone. I mean, their romance is so good.
It's
It's okay. And so on and so forth. The scene where he saves essentially Mr. Gower from making a fatal mistake with the poison accidentally. It is a very small scene, but it is so poignant and it is so powerful, especially because it is H.B. Warner, who was a big movie star in his own right in his younger years. Meeting Clarence for the first time, like when he and George finally meet, we have just such an adorable little character. There's so much good stuff, things that are lighthearted, that make you feel good, that are building up to all the stuff. When they Mr. Martini finally gets his house and they have this little presentation of gifts, uh Mr. Potter being I gotta hold my tongue a little bit, being a curmudgeon. I'm straining myself.
yes.
You can tell the things that I want to say.
Good
Um
word though.
yeah, it's not even appropriate. It's a good word, but it's not the right one. Um, I don't know. I feel I can this is one of those movies where I can talk along with the whole movie and annoy people if they don't do the same thing, right? Where I'm just gonna be reciting George's little speeches
Yeah.
here and there, and I don't know. Suddenly, I'm just thinking of Violet and being like, "Oh, what a nice dress," and she's like, "Oh, this old thing, I wear this when I don't care what I put on." She flips
And
her
then
hair. I
every person she walks by looks.
Yes, I mean those are the little things, right, that Capra is doing to influence what's going on. That yeah, it's so good. And then when he gets home and everything is restored and he grabs his children and is desperately kissing all of their faces. And nobody knows what he has gone through. And he is so grateful to be alive, to see his family. It is the most heart wrenching, wonderful, awful, beautiful, brutal possible homecoming that you could see. And it is representative of so many different types of homecomings, not just George returning from this paranormal experience, okay, or supernatural experience, or whatever you want to call it. People coming home from long absences, from, I don't know, being away at war, for example, all of those types of things. It is so powerful, and there's no dialogue that is going on, and somehow it is so real and genuine, and to me at least, doesn't feel fake or facetious in any way. It is so heavy and lighthearted at the same time. And then when everybody shows up to give all of this money, a mirror image of him giving out his honeymoon money, right? When the banks closed. It is simply glorious, a testament to human spirit and kindness and love. It's yeah.
Yeah, at the end of that
Yeah.
movie, I forget I'm watching a movie. I just feel like I'm kind of peeping through somebody's house through the window and seeing this journey that I've somehow managed to sneak around and watch his whole life. And now I'm at the end. I'm like, oh my god. Breaking up the emotions. I have found quite a lot of facts, and some I want to go through. So when Mary and George are at the old house that becomes their house and they're throwing rocks at it, Donna Reed, who plays Mary, throws a rock. Frank Capra hired a marksman to shoot out the window when she throws the rock. Except what they didn't know is that Donna Reed actually played high school baseball and she hit it first time and broke the window to everybody's amazement, which is amazing. Um, it was also such a perfect throw. Like, you watch, you're like, oh, and then to find out it's real, you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Another one of my favourite is when Uncle Billy is drunk and leaves the Bailey's home, and he goes off screen, and you hear crash bang wallop, and you think, oh, he's gone into the trash cans. That wasn't actually meant to happen. Somebody offset dropped a large tray of pots and pans off camera, and they decided to keep it in, and they got the actor who played Uncle Billy improvised the line. That's why when Jimmy Stewart's laughing, he's legitimately laughing at the whole thing, and Capra decided to keep it in, which again is it's such a great moment. It makes me laugh every single time, and to learn that wasn't even meant to happen is just great. And the one thing that always, whenever you find this out about Christmas films, this was shot in California during a heat wave. So you just know that pool scene in the high school, that was probably heaven that day. I really hope the water was cold. Then my favourite part, as everybody knows who listens to the podcast, is alternative casting, because that's the moment where me and my guests get either collectively disappointed that a person didn't get cast, or collectively thankful that nobody got casted in an iconic role. So for George, one person that ended up being considered was Henry Fonda, which I love Henry Fonda, because him and James Stewart were coming from the war, and they were both getting gigs after serving, and James Stewart ended up getting It's a Wonderful Life, and Henry Fonda went on to do My Darling Clementine. Then the other big person, which I want your guys' opinion on, as well as the Fonda casted, is Cary Grant was meant to be George Bailey, which would have been interesting, because as good as he is, James Stewart just brings emotional depth I don't think anybody could do.
Yeah.
There's this part of me that goes, absolutely, I can see Cary Grant doing it, but I don't want Cary Grant from A Philadelphia Story. I want Cary Grant from Bringing Up Baby, like being a little bit of a doofus, but still both of those don't ring true. And thinking of Philadelphia Story, where you do have James Stewart and Cary Grant playing, they essentially play themselves in every movie, putting them together, and you can see why Cary Grant would be the leading man in something like A Philadelphia Story, but he wouldn't necessarily work in something like It's a Wonderful Life, and that's not because he's not a good actor. There's just a presence and stuff going on, and he can absolutely do comedy, Arsenic and Old Lace, all of these things, like, he can definitely do it, but you need to have somebody who has some comedic timing that is a little bit tongue in cheek and not quite so, I don't, yeah, that doesn't feel right to me, but also we're talking about a movie that's so iconic that it can be a little bit difficult to be like, "Absolutely not. No, no, nope, nope." So I get it,
Yeah.
but no.
I also think James Stewart is the perfect, like, everyman. Like he just looks normal. Cary Grant's too good looking.
Mhm.
I can't watch him struggle. Like, oh my god, it's like, no, look at you. Like,
The
no.
worst,
He's
no,
a stud.
the most undesirable thing about Cary Grant is like his real name. Okay, like Archie. Come on, like there's a reason why they changed it. Okay, because
I didn't even know that.
everything else about him is so beautiful.
Yeah. Oh,
What do you
yeah.
think about the Henry Fonda possible one as well?
Nope.
No, I think he could bring, like, a good emotional tone, and really, I'm gonna be honest, like, the only Henry Fonda movie that I really know is 12 Angry Men, and in that, he has, like, a really strong emotional presence, but I just think too, we have, honestly, like, the seriousness of seeing life from Jimmy Stewart, and, like, he was veteran, and, like, he had he knew how to really deeply get
Again,
there.
the comedic timing, I think, is the big difference that
Yes,
Stewart
good
has that
balance.
nobody else didn't.
He
Well,
has
and I
both. He's that
Mhm.
double he's got both sides of that emotional spectrum.
Yeah, and I think with Henry Fonda, I don't and this is just me, I don't buy him as a romantic lead. He clearly has been a romantic lead in many movies. But when we're thinking about like the schmaltzy parts of this film, I Henry Fonda feels too serious for me. And yeah,
Yeah.
part of
Yeah.
that's the comedy stuff, but I wouldn't buy him getting flustered with Mary or
Yeah.
Mhm.
interacting with Violet or having someone swoon over him when he's kind of dorky, right?
Yeah.
And that's what's kind of so wonderful about these characters, you know?
I also
Mhm.
think it's quite funny because if you combine Henry Fonda and Cary Grant, you get Jimmy Stewart. You get the best of both their
Yeah,
worlds.
you kind of
Hence
do.
why,
Yeah.
hence why he works the best. Like I
Yeah.
also know I read on IMDb that when they did the kiss scene when they're both on the phone, James Stewart, it was his first kissing scene back from the war, and he was so nervous that
Mm.
they did it in one take because he didn't want to keep doing it and doing it. Like he was too
Yeah.
nervous, which is so adorable.
Mm.
Um,
Tender
then
guy.
the, the potential casts for Mary, there was a lot. So you had Olivia de Havilland. I can never remember if I pronounced her name correctly. Ginger Rogers, Joan Arthur, Anne Dvorak, Martha Scott. Martha Scott Rogers, as said, it was too bland and declined, which
Wow.
people need to stop
Idiot.
declining then commenting because it never really ages well if it ends up being a smash hit.
No. No.
Um, Again, I think Donna Reed was just perfect. Again,
She's perfect.
yeah. When it comes to an iconic film like this, we can go through potential casts and we always go, yeah, they got it right. That's why it's iconic.
Right.
Mhm.
Yep. Yep.
Uh,
Yep. Yep.
and then the one who probably had a lot of casting as well was Mr. Potter. And there's one person in particular that was almost cast that I can't wait for your two reactions. So Edward Arnold was considered. Charles Bickford, Edward Buchanan, Raymond Massey, Thomas Mitchell, and Vincent Price. That's the
What?
reaction I was waiting for. Yeah, but they said because Baron Moore had played Ebenezer Scrooge in radio versions of the Christmas Carol, so they were like, he's kind of a natural Scrooge to play
Yeah.
a character like Potter. So, but yeah, Vincent Price could have been Mr. Potter.
Wow.
And Vincent Price. Wait, how old would Vincent Price have been at that point? Because Lionel
I'm not
Barrymore
sure.
is, I believe he's about 60, he's in his late 60s, I think, during filming. So, like, it's age appropriate. Um, if you look it up, I don't wanna type because 'cause I've got a really clicky-clacky
He was
keyboard that'll
68. Yep,
he was
yep.
68. Yeah, so how old would Vincent Price have been? I think he would have been
I will have a look.
He would have been too young anyway.
I think he would have
I
been
think
too
like he
young.
would have been the perfect age for this when he did Edward Scissorhands in the 90s.
Right.
That
Right.
was the 90s.
Yeah.
Like,
So Vincent Price would have only been 35, which
okay.
which
He's a
as a
great
casting
actor.
option that feels
Yeah.
so. Yeah.
I fully get it. I fully get it. He could absolutely pull it off. They could have
100%.
done great things with makeup. He would have been actually really good. And it is, I think, saying he would have been good in this role, yes, like in the 80s when he's already an
Mhm.
icon. Lionel Barrymore was an icon.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's
Yeah.
why I loved his performance in Treasure Island, for example, because to me, I was like, those are the same characters.
Mhm.
um, so that actually makes a ton of sense to me, except for how young he is. I kind of
Yeah.
Yeah.
like that
Yeah.
thought.
Oh, he would be so great, and I think too his voice, because he's
I
an
was
amazing
about to say
narrator for a reason,
the
right?
voice would have been
His voice is
perfect.
iconic. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, he totally could have been slimy too. Like he could have
Even
been so
Lionel
slimy and
Barrymore's
so good
voice
at
as
it.
well is incredible.
It's so good.
Yeah.
He did radio.
Yeah. So the uncredited cast member that I wanted to mention was Jimmy the Crow, who was actually a Raven, but he was the Raven in the Bailey's office. And Jimmy the Crow appeared in over 1,000 films. Fun fact. He
Wow.
could type open letters and even ride a small motorcycle, which yeah. He could also perform tasks that an 8-year-old child could do. Jimmy Stewart said when they called Jimmy on set, they both answered. And
Hilarious.
James Stewart also said that he was the most professional person on set and took less takes than the actors did. Yeah. He was also insured for $10,000 dollars.
Wow.
And he
Wow.
also got a Red Cross because he spent 200 hours plus entertaining veterans from the war.
Oh,
He Jimmy the Crow ended up living until he was 60, which I was like, I thought that was incredible age, but yeah, Jimmy the Crow should get talked about more.
yes.
This is delightful
Yeah, this is
information.
so good.
Yeah.
I love
On
this.
on Wikipedia, there's an uncredited cast section, and I was like, Jimmy the Crow. I was like, hang on, the Crow's famous, and then I was like, oh my god, yeah.
He's
So
famous, famous. He did a
yeah,
lot.
yeah. He,
What a good boy.
that Raven was smarter than me. So
So then, Clarissa, then I have to ask you, because you are a bird owner, can
Yes.
Wendy ride a motorcycle? And if she cannot, why not?
I have been asking myself that question for the past couple seconds here. Um, she
Lifespan of Wendy.
she should live to be around 30.
Okay,
So
but
I will have my birdie for 30 years, and she's little.
She's
She is little.
She little.
But yeah, she
there's
also
still time
can't
to.
talk.
There's still time to teach her.
There's time. There's time. You know, I know these birds can learn how to talk. I have a conure. I have a turquoise green cheek, and they technically can learn how to talk, but not all of them take to it. We're also not sure if she's a girl or a boy. So it could be
Right.
a Wendy or a Wendell. We're
That
not sure.
happened with my that happened with
Name is
our
Wendy no
bird.
matter what.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, yeah.
Yes.
But then, yeah, it was only yesterday, but I asked over on my Twitter if anybody had any questions for us, and surprisingly got a couple as well. So
Nice.
Jylan Salah asked, "Is Jimmy Stewart the most hottest man of all time?"
The most hottest man?
Yeah,
No.
no,
Well,
He the hottest man of all time?
I want a
I knew
5-page
there'd be a
essay
split.
supporting this, because I could be convinced. I
Yes.
absolutely see it. Is he my first choice? No. But that's because I kind of like the Bad Boys a little bit. And I want to hear her expound on this and make the argument that he is. Bring pictures, bring
Yeah.
evidence.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
here for it.
I
The
found
Instagram
out
account
that the
Old Hollywood
online
Swoon would be so into that.
the, I found there is actually a large audience for Jimmy Stewart, and a lot of people think he's like the most beautiful man ever. So
I think he's up there. He's completely a stud. I just think
He's so
back to like
tall.
little Clarissa. Oh, he is tall. He is
So
tall.
he was also
tall.
38 when he filmed It's a Wonderful Life, which blew me away.
Wow.
Bear
Younger
in
than
mind he's
I
Well,
playing
that's
am.
somebody
similar in
like,
age to my
yeah.
casting.
Oh, okay, that's
Younger.
So
perfect.
we'll
I did
see.
that on
But
purpose, but yeah.
nice.
The next question was from Sinner Kyle, who is great. He was the guest for the Gladiator episode.
Great episode.
I know this from his Cinema Millennials podcast that he has actually not seen It's a Wonderful Life yet.
Oh,
Ooh,
And
okay.
his question is, do we agree with the placement that this is like an S tier Christmas film? And I mean, I'll go first. The answer is yes. It's probably like the
Yeah.
defining Christmas film. As soon as you see it, you get it, and you're like, oh, okay, this is what everybody's been telling me to watch for ever and ever. So yes, Kyle, it is. It's probably the only S tier Christmas film because everything else is a step below this.
It's quintessential for sure. You have to. It is so Christmassy too. It's not just the themes. The trees beautiful. The
Yeah.
snow is beautiful.
and I think honestly, the only other for me Christmas movies that come close are from this same era.
Yeah.
And there's some modern ones that
I have
I jibe
personal
with,
favourites
but
I'd put in S tier, but objectively, this is
yeah,
the Christmas film easily.
yeah.
Then everybody's favourite resident question queen, Heather Stewart, chimed in,
Yay!
which I knew she would. So she said, what would we say to the people who say this is just a cheesy feel-good film and write it off? And she did say, we can't just say, watch it. Yeah.
Can I
My
use a different two-word
response would
sentence?
be, my response
Yeah.
would be watch it, but
Yeah. My response is also two words. Shut up.
yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry. This movie, I think that anybody who says, "Oh, that's just a cheesy whatever," they clearly did not watch the movie. You didn't see the
Yes.
movie. You didn't see the movie for what it was because it has way too serious of themes to say that. This isn't I mean, it's not I can't even actually, I'm thinking of, like, another Christmas movie to throw out there, and I can't because all of them have really tender themes. But
Yeah.
let's say it's not a Hallmark. It's not a Hallmark movie. It's not
Right.
made for feeling cheesy and silly and, oh, romance and warm and fuzzy. It's got serious tones too. It's like this is the spirit of the season
Yes.
in a way that you need the season. You need this time of year also as a
I
reminder for these
Yeah.
things.
I can also almost guarantee that people who say that their favourite film is a cheesy feel good Christmas film and completely defeat the object of what they're saying.
Well, I
Yeah.
think Clarissa had summed it up so wonderfully at the beginning that the themes of the movie are incredibly powerful, but let's
Yes.
bring it
Mhm.
down to its most basic thing. This movie is not just cheesy because at its core, it is about a man who is going to kill himself. What is
Yeah.
cheesy about that?
Yep.
There's nothing cheesy about
That
What
that.
is schmaltzy about
yeah.
that? It
I don't
fundamentally
understand
cannot
people.
be. It is not a comedy. Okay, I'm gonna kill myself. Ah, here's all
Yeah.
the funny things that happen. It is none of those things. And
No.
so I agree, probably the people who are writing it off haven't seen it. So then the encouragement would be, why haven't you watched it? Oh, because you think that it's this type of thing.
Yeah.
We want you to watch it so that you can see that it's not, and not from a highly biased. Okay, I'm highly biased, but not just because of bias of we think it's a great film, but because there is more going on than Christmas trees and Santa and fa la 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 la.
Mhm.
That's the whole point, is that it has
Yeah.
the darkest theme that you could possibly have. Somebody who is in despair right? Who wants to kill themselves and who is the only thing that prevents him from killing himself is somebody else killing themselves,
Yeah,
right? That is the
Mhm.
yeah.
only thing.
I
Clarence
also
jumps
think
into the river.
people who say
Yeah.
that have only seen the commercials where you see the ending and all the happy moments, and they go, "Oh, it's just a
Correct.
goofy old." Because obviously, when
Yeah.
it's like noon, you can't exactly put on all the heavy moments on an advert for kids to go, "What the hell's that?" You know?
So
Mhm.
really what people are talking about the Instagram highlight reels from this film or like the Facebook life, right? All of the
Yeah,
pretty pictures
Mhm.
that aren't actually telling you anything about the sordid decay that's going on underneath. And not that this movie is sordid decay, but like the unhappiness, right? That people the
Mhm.
suffering that is going on. People look at it, "Ooh, pretty pictures." And you're so right, Clarissa. I think the best word that you chose is Hallmark. It is not a Hallmark movie. There are
Mhm.
some Hallmark movies that do deal with like some more intense themes, but they're still pushed to the background in the
Yeah.
service of romance, right? The falling
Mhm.
out is usually it's surmountable
Like
because they're gonna
yeah.
make up at the end, right? And those formulas work for a reason, and we watch those because we want escapism. We watch this movie because we want the escapism at the end, because we've gone
Mhm.
on the journey. We will watch this painful story because of the resolution at the end, but the resolution at the end is so hard won. We're not sitting there passively. We have gone on an emotional roller coaster, and it's devastating, right?
Mhm. Well, and one thing that I think I would say to people, and like if you haven't seen this movie, this is like a really personal experience with this movie, but my grandpa was killed young in a car accident
Mm.
on Christmas Day. So he was 71 and he was spry and athletic. I mean, him and I built houses together in Mexico, like super athletic guy. We really didn't think we thought we had him till like his 90s at least. And he was hit Christmas Day and passed away. And we watched this movie together as a family. Um and I think that there was such a real feeling to that ending of seeing something really hard and tragic on Christmas Day, but seeing how everyone came together was really tender and beautiful. And I think that that was something that this movie encapsulated to me was that it's not schmaltzy. There's really hard stuff that happens, and we kind of talked about that. And my mom, for one, I don't know if she'll listen to this episode, but she really got sad on Christmas for a long time after. But it was the reminder of like, we love each other and we have each other, and that is all that matters at the end of the day. And he would have wanted us to have had that relationship with Christmas and seeing the way that our family came together, it feels so hopeful and similar to that ending of like the people who came out of the woodworks to make sure we were okay and doing well. And it was just like the most tender Christmassy experience. And I think that this movie encapsulates even that feeling from my family. And I'm like, I know this movie is real. There's like a testament to this movie of like, this happens. People feel this way, things, and that is such a unique experience of mine to be able to say, like, I know that Christmas can have something sad, but it was shifted into now it is this really precious, beautiful time of year for all of us to get together and also remember him and just love on each other so much harder, you know? And that's what this movie is. It's about that. It's not just Christmas, you guys. Like I can't tell anyone enough. But yeah, it's so important. It's just too important.
yeah,
Don't ignore this movie.
yeah, yeah. The other question Heather asked, which I was so happy I watched it today after she'd asked this because I was kind of looking through the scope of this, and there was certain moments where I was like, I can buy into it. But Heather said, "What do we make of the theory that this film is an early or an original version of a Truman Show esque thing, and George is just constantly stuck in this one place?" Because if you think about it, and it wasn't until I watched it
Yeah.
again, every time he tries to leave that town, something happens and he can't. And it's very much
Yeah.
like when Truman wants to go out, oh, something happens. Oh, he wants to go again, something happens. Something's constantly stopping George from leaving the town.
Terrified of the water, all of those types
Yes.
of things. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, first off, fantastic tie. That was like one of the first things I mentioned is like you feel bad for George because you just want him to get a passport. You
Yeah.
want him to get out of there. It's like I want you to have a trip and live your dreams and go off and explore. And there is that kind of like reality to it of his family needed him. And I think that the big difference is that everyone in the Truman Show was doing it in a manipulative way.
Yes. Yes.
George decided to stay every time. Truman was like, I don't care what waves you throw at me, and I don't care if I die in this water. I am getting out of here. We're going. We're doing it. I'm buying the ticket. You can catch the road on fire. I'm out of here. And, but George comes back intentionally for his family. And I think that's the thing. It speaks so much to his values of like, I love my family. I value my family. And if I leave, it's not going to be good. Like, they need me. They need me, But Truman was like, y'all are fake. I'm God. So,
What a fun concept that I'd never
so
even
cute.
considered. So leave it to Heather to just have some premium insights and questions. I'm going to say, yeah, of course. Why not? Because I'm not smart enough to have thought of that as a thing at all. So you got me.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's
Okay.
also just the most Heather thing to find a theory that I've never heard of as well. I was
I
like,
love
okay,
it.
yeah.
Heather's the
Tie them
best.
together. So great.
And then the big question that I asked you to prepare for was, I said if there was a modern remake and we had to cast, who would it be? Now, I know that you've gone way more in depth than I have, so I will get mine out the way first, and you can say what you think of mine. They're probably not great, but we'll try. So
Let's do
for
it.
George Bailey, a couple names that I wrote down about 4 for each character, kind of. So one person I said was Ryan Gosling, who
Nice.
I feel like he can do comedic and he can do emotional stuff, as we've seen through his career. Sarah's laughing, which another
Well,
person.
no, that's because I don't know if you know this, but the joke is that Andrew Corns loves Ryan Gosling a whole lot.
He
Yes,
loves him,
I know, yeah.
and I'm just kind of ambivalent. Like, I don't get it, which is fine.
I
Which
also
is
love
why
Ryan Gosling, so
I
yeah.
think it's so funny.
Yeah.
I'm just like, okay, because to me, I'm like, he's cardboard. I'm so
It's cardboard.
in the wrong, and it's so funny.
You're allowed. It's allowed. It's
so funny
okay.
to me.
Another person that I had, which you might like more of an option, is Andrew Garfield.
Oh, wow.
I thought that was a pretty good one when I was sat there thinking by myself. I was like,
He would be so good.
Yeah.
And then 2 kind of out there picks that I think could pull it off. One is Jake Gyllenhaal. I'm at the point where I think Jake Gyllenhaal can do anything. So
yeah, I think I agree with that, but I think I also have just
that's why he's last option. He's like, yeah. Another
I'm having feelings,
person,
but I can't articulate them.
would be Cillian Murphy. Mainly because I just love Cillian Murphy. Yeah.
He's fun. He's
Yeah.
fun.
For Mary, I had Amy Adams because I think nobody does soul crushing like Amy Adams in performances. So
Great pick.
another person
she's so
again, Emily Blunt, because again I think she's wonderful and can do a lot. Another person was Emma Stone because exactly the same reason. And then again, a rogue one if we're going rogue, Saoirse Ronan, who again I think's wonderful.
Saoirse Ronan with Andrew Garfield.
Yeah, that's
would
what I was
sell me.
thinking. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, that's a
I
good
like
combo.
that. I like
For
that.
Mr. Potter, I had three. I had three fun ones. One which I think you might have also written down, maybe Anthony Hopkins. In my
I did
head,
not.
I'm like, put him in the chair. That's Mr. Potter. He
He
can
could be
play Grumpy.
so
Yeah,
good. Yeah. Oh, yeah, he can play Grumpy.
yeah. Another
Play
person.
anything.
Yeah. Another person is when I think of I love this man, by the way, but when I think of grumpy men, this is the first person that comes to mind. It's Hugh Grant. Just let him be Hugh Grant, and I
Yes.
am sold.
Yes. Yeah.
And then the other person is
Good.
John Goodman, who again I think's great.
Oh,
And not only that, the
Oh,
voice. That's what I was thinking with that
y-
pick.
yeah.
he would be fun in a villainous role, which he
Yeah.
doesn't get to do
Yeah.
very
I
often.
was like,
Yeah.
he'd have to set aside the cinnamon because he is the cinnamon roll.
Yeah.
Well, but
Not
like,
me.
but
And then for
that's why
Clarence,
him and I was going to say John Goodman in 10 Cloverfield Lane is that perfect
Yeah.
double-edged
Yeah.
sword. I like this
Thinker.
pick a lot, Morgan. Okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
that's a good
I'm going to
pick,
shut up.
Morgan.
Yeah.
Shutting up.
And then for Clarence, one person that comes straight to mind was Mark Rylance, who I think's wonderful.
Nice.
Oh,
I think for some reason
yeah.
mine ended up being a majority British, but I don't know
That's
why.
okay.
Yeah.
I think most of them
Then
do American accents at different
that
points.
yeah
Or could it be
yeah
told in a British setting?
yeah true. Another person I had was Jeff Daniels, who I think could be fun.
I could see that. Yep.
Another person is Bill Murray.
My gosh.
Yeah, I could see that too.
He'd be good. Especially
Yeah.
Bill Murray now. Like
Yes,
older Bill Murray.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I was thinking. And then one that's just fun, Morgan Freeman. He's played God. He loves doing ethereal roles.
He
Why
does.
not?
He does.
Why not? Why not? So yeah,
Yeah.
that is my
Good.
modern. that is my potential cast of a modern remake of It's a Wonderful Life.
Yep.
Love it.
Yeah,
Great casting. Lots
Clarissa,
of
do you
feelings.
have yours?
Yes. And I have one the same, and we'll get
Ooh.
to it. First off, I have really started to absolutely love this actor, and he came into my mind frame in like the past couple years. It's not like someone I've known my whole life. Um, and he has the same last name as George Bailey. I'm gonna say Jonathan Bailey. I think Jonathan Bailey
That's
would be
great.
so good in this role.
Yeah.
He would be
Agreed.
so good.
Agreed.
He would be amazing. And also how cute, Jonathan Bailey, George Bailey, how cute is that? Um, and then my Mary is actually the exact same age. And I was like, oh, how perfect. I don't know if they'd ever do a movie together, because her career has shifted a little bit. But Emma Stone. I didn't put anyone else for Mary. I just think she's so emotional. She's silly and goofy when she needs to be, but she also is serious and romantic. And I just think she's one of the most authentic actresses we have out there. I
From
really do.
Superbad
She's
to
so authentic.
Begonia, no one else has that range.
Yeah. Yeah, seriously. Well, that's the thing, is that it's like Jonathan Bailey and Emma Stone. Like Jonathan Bailey's kind of in his blockbuster era right now. And Emma Stone like kind of did a little bit more of the blockbuster, and she's moving more into like Academy material stuff, you know? So anyway, a thought for her. And then Mr. Potter. This is actually really fun and cute. I put my acting coach that I had from the time I was 6. His name is David Weeks, and he has played Ebenezer Scrooge in our professional theater here in Utah every year for 20 years.
Wow.
He is so cute and good, and I think he would just be like, he
He's
could
the
do a
most
villain so
qualified man
well.
for the role by the sounds of it.
Yes, I love him so much. I will send videos and pictures, but no one will get that. So here's my star that I think like everyone will know outside of David Weeks. Yay, David, love you. But I think actually Leonardo DiCaprio would be really good in this, because I would love to see him as a crotchety old man. And I think that if he pulled out some like Django level anger in like a sly way, he could just be so conniving. I think he'd be good. But that was like my one star where I was like, he could be such a weenie. I want to see it. I want to see it. Uncle Billy, I put as Henry Czerny. I can't remember how to say his last name, but he is the dad in Ready or Not. He's also in like the whole Mission Impossible franchise, but I think he would be really good. And then Clarence, I was really struggling with Clarence. I messaged you guys about Clarence. I was like, I have so many feelings about Clarence. I think I found the best person I could choose for Clarence, and that is Steve Carell. I
That's a
think
great
Steve
one.
Carell,
That's a great
yeah,
one.
I think Steve Carell would be so cute. He can be serious and loving and sweet while also being silly. I think he'd be like bring such a nice tone to it. I mean, seriously, if you watch Beautiful Boy, I think you could see that side of him so well. But I just think he would be really nice. And I think too, him and Jonathan Bailey together, he would have a really good way of talking to him. And like
Aw.
where Steve Carell is in his life right now, like he's not an older man, but he's like middle age. And I think he would just have like such a real presence with that role. And then I also casted Mrs. Bailey, Mama Bailey. Um, I casted Diane Keaton, but she has passed. So I would also say Sigourney Weaver,
Ooh.
right? So and then I also casted Harry Bailey because brothers. I casted Timothy Chalamet. I think Timothy Chalamet would be such a fun. I'm home and oh yay! Like I'm at the
Yeah,
dance. But him and Jonathan Bailey as brothers, I think would be really cute. And I think that they could look similar enough to be brothers, like face shape wise. Where Jonathan Bailey doesn't have like the face that looks like it could cut paper looking at it, like Timothy Chalamet has. But I think that they could have some fun chemistry. I also think Timothy Chalamet, like as Laurie in Little Women, like this is what I'm picturing with
yeah,
him, you know?
I can see that.
Yeah, Violet. I casted Violet as well. I casted Catherine Newton, who is kind of like a
I
younger
love that.
actress.
I love that.
Yeah, she is so great.
She's
I
awesome.
think she could be a really cute coquette, like cute little flirtatious
Yeah,
Violet. I think that she would do a good job. And then I also casted Mr. Gower. I just think his role is so important, and I think that it would have to be really meticulously done. So I casted Harrison Ford
I
as
love
Mr.
that.
Gower.
That is
Right?
great.
Can you imagine it?
Yeah.
My second was Dermot Mulroney, but I think Dermot Mulroney is a little too young for this role.
Harrison Ford
So I
could
think it
also
would
be
be
a good
Harrison Ford.
Mr. Potter because he can do Grumpy.
He could. Hey, oh, he could. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So anyway, that's my casting.
that is great.
Wow. Love it. Love all of that. That was amazing. Love.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sarah, it is your turn, and this is what we've been waiting for.
Oh my god. So page of notes, color coded,
Yes.
things like that. Okay.
Yes.
So let me
Color
take you
coded.
on a journey because as I started thinking about all of this and I had some first like initial reactions and then I started feeling things out and then I went, whoa, here's a theme, and then figured that out and then was like, wait a minute, what about this? So I'm just going to tell you all of the things, just all of the things. Now, we do have a couple of bits of overlap, okay? And they actually are within my first reactions. So I also cast Leonardo DiCaprio and Anthony Hopkins, but not maybe where you think. I first was like, Anthony Hopkins as Clarence could be so cute.
So cute.
Yeah,
So cute. So
Yeah.
cute. I never once thought of him as Potter, not for a second. But I thought of it, I don't know why. Just him as Clarence. And maybe it's just he's in his dotage now where he is just so wholesome and he writes music and he's just a delight.
He's so cute.
He's
so cute.
so cute. Um actually agree, Clarissa. I think Leonardo DiCaprio as Potter would be I would love to see that. I can't believe I am
Woo!
saying it. I
I,
can't
I, I am
believe
so
I am
I am
saying it.
so happy. On my podcast, out of all the places that Sara Shea actually likes Leonardo DiCaprio in something, this is otherworldly.
It's like one of the worst villains in cinema. I said it
Yeah.
and I meant it. He sucks.
Yeah.
Sucks.
Sucks. So I think that him being a weenie, like that Jordan Belfort energy that he has in Wolf of Wall Street is exactly
Yes.
old man material. And like, I would be so mad at him being cast in a remake of this, but I would love it because to me, that's
Hmm.
a role that I could buy
Yeah.
into. I'm so ashamed. You're
Or
welcome, Morgan.
you
Merry
could have
I
Christmas.
love
him
it.
you could have him as Mr. Potter channeling Quentin Tarantino whilst making lists. Then he's the most detestable man ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Oh,
yeah, that's totally like, and it's so funny because when we were in our little chat and you were like, you're casting Leo as George. And I was like, no, I'm not. But then I was like, God, I've already cast him as Potter. Dang it.
something. Yeah. Too good though. He
Transparent.
would be great.
Yeah. But my other thoughts for Potter actually would be Jack Nicholson. And people compare Leonardo DiCaprio and Jack Nicholson a lot. And
Yeah.
I think that
Yeah.
pretty much at any
Ah,
age, Jack Nicholson could play that character and be
absolutely.
so good. And then also Willem Dafoe, I think, like right now would be so good.
I love that.
I'm upset I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, I
He
am
would be
as
so
well.
good. He would be so good.
Okay.
You're right.
So, um, my actual first thought for Clarence was, and I cannot explain to you where this came from, but Robert Duvall. I don't know why. There's something about him that feels cinnamon rolly to me, but also
Uh,
being a little bit hard edged. And maybe it's because his career has spanned, like he played Boo Radley. He's done all of these like very, very dramatic roles as well as some silly, I don't know. So I'm just throwing
yeah, I
that
like
out
that.
there. Clarissa, did you say Harrison Ford as Clarence?
No, I said him as Mr. Gower,
Okay,
but I do think I thought
he would
about him
be as
too.
Clarence is, yes, I was like, you said
Mm,
Harrison Ford. So I actually think him as Clarence would be super cute. And in
so cute.
his heyday, I think he could have been a great George Bailey.
I
Yeah,
agree. Like
I
Like
agree.
Indiana Jones era.
wonderful, like
Yeah,
or just a little bit older, like still would have been wonderful,
so
which is
good.
I think we said this before we started recording. Like Tom Hanks is like the closest facsimile to Jimmy Stewart, and he would have been
Hmm.
in his heyday like perfect George Bailey because he is the everyman. So then I'm like, okay, so I have again I'm just going to have to go through all of this. So here's my other thoughts for Clarence. I actually thought Bradley Whitford could be Clarence, or he could be Potter. Either or.
Who is that?
Um he could be delightful or terrible, depending. He's
Yeah,
yeah, he's the
I'm
the
remembering.
father from Get Out, and he's in Cabin in
Yes,
all of those. Yeah.
a million things.
Yes. I thought again, sometimes I don't know where these thoughts come from. Gene Hackman as Clarence would be so cute. I mean, he's
Yeah.
He'd
obviously
be good.
not alive anymore, but that would have been very
Yeah,
cute.
so cute.
Okay, again, this is going backwards. Barry Fitzgerald, who is in Going My Way, he's the elderly priest. If we could somehow put him still alive and put him in a remake, but it's the same era, which
Yeah,
doesn't work. And then you could have Steve Martin and Martin Short playing like a dual Clarence role, like maybe they're best friend angel buddies. Um
yes,
but also Steve Martin in his heyday would have been great as
Yeah.
George as well.
he would have. Yeah. Oh,
Absolutely.
totally.
So then who else could we do for here's how I went on a journey. We're going to do a little spiral, okay? So I actually thought Ryan Reynolds to me felt like he could do funny and serious enough. He did an adaptation of A Christmas Carol, like a musical version, which was pretty fun that I liked. Michael B. Jordan, I think, could be really, really good. And then I was like, oh, but
I'm a
who would I
sucker for
put?
Michael B. Jordan, so yes.
Oh, and then I was like, who would be
Yeah.
such a good Mary? And then I was like, who have I seen him with? And then I was like, Tessa Thompson from Creed would be, I think, such
Oh,
a
she'd be
lovely
so
Mary. And so
good.
I'm just like, oh, they're so cute. Then I thought, okay, Harrison Ford we could do. Then I was like, okay, but no, try to keep it current. Glenn Powell, I think, could maybe pull it off.
Yeah, Glenn. I love him so much.
I love
It's
Glenn
crazy how
Powell.
much I
Yeah.
love him.
I
Yeah.
am continually enjoying him, and I'm like, dang, I like everything that I've seen. Well,
And he's
okay.
emotional.
He
He
is.
is
That's
so good.
That's
at
the
being
hottest
emotional.
man ever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That part.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would agree with that.
yeah.
Actually, I really do have to put my husband first, but yes,
Yes.
celebrity-wise, yes.
God. Okay, then I'm just like going off on a tangent, and I'm like, Denzel Washington could do it, but then I was like, no, his son, John David Washington, could absolutely be George Bailey. Like, okay. And then I was like, spun off, and then I was like, okay, but who else could be Clarence? And I was like, Carl Reiner could be Clarence, Carl Reiner from Ocean's 11. So obviously he's not alive
Yeah.
anymore, and that wouldn't make sense. But then I was like, oh, but what about George Clooney as George Bailey in his heyday? And then I thought,
Yeah.
oh, you know who would be a really good Harry, the brother, would be Brad Pitt, like Legends of the Fall, Brad Pitt. And then I was like, wait, Carl Reiner, George Clooney, Brad Pitt, wait, Ocean's 11. Let's go with Ocean's 11 for full recasting of
Yeah.
It's a Wonderful Life. So we're going to have George Clooney as George. We're going to have Julia Roberts as Mary. We're going to have Brad Pitt, again, Legends of the Fall, as same type as Harry, but he could also potentially be Uncle Billy. Okay, if we just kept him same age right now,
Ooh.
I
Mhm.
think.
Mhm.
But also Uncle Billy could be Eddie Jameson from Ocean's 11. He's the electronics like surveillance guy who gets really, really nervous.
Yeah.
So I was like, he would
Nice.
be
This
so
is the wildest
fun.
crossover that's working.
No, right? I'm
I
like,
love
it
it.
actually kind of works. And then I was like, actually, you know who would be really fun as Uncle Billy would actually be Matt Damon, like being a little bit like kind of, but also kind of like in like The Talented Mr. Ripley, where he's a little bit
Yes.
like
That's what came to mind immediately.
I was like, ooh, he could be really okay. So
Yeah.
let's continue on this journey because I have so many things. My first thought for Mary was actually Keira Knightley.
Wow.
I thought she would
Wow.
be a
Nice.
lovely, absolutely lovely.
Yeah.
I Mary Steenburgen from like Back to the Future 3. I love her. Okay. Then I was
Yeah.
like, oh, and she's in love with Christopher Lloyd in that movie. He could be Clarence or he could be Uncle Billy. That would be so cute. That
That's
like
a
Love
great
both
show.
those, yeah.
so many different eras. This is like time machine casting. I thought, gosh darn it,
Appropriate.
Robin Wright would be so cute as Mary. She can't do it because past that, but you know, she would also make a great Violet.
Yeah.
When she's like in her Jenny era, but also current casting for Violet, I think Florence Pugh would be fantastic.
Oh, she'd be great. She
That
would be
would
so
actually
great.
be. Yeah,
Don't you
that's
think?
that.
I think
That's the
she
one.
would just
Yeah.
be so perfect in that
Yeah.
role. And it's not a
hear
huge
that.
role, but I think that she has an innocence but also that bombshell component that would just be like so good. And
Yeah.
wait, who did I also have? I'm like have to look down at my notes because they go like this. I love the mention of Amy Adams and Emily Blunt. I think that they could totally
Fantastic women.
do it 100%. And then I was like, you know who I want to watch be in love on screen again? So we'd have to like, they could maybe do it now, but it'd be hard to get them to play like the teenagers. Nona Ryder and Keanu Reeves, please, can we bring them back?
Yes. Yes.
You remember how we talked
Aw.
about Dracula
Yeah.
for your Halloween episode. So I watched it within like the last week while I was grading, and I was just like,
I watched it 2 days ago.
It's so good.
I love
Yeah.
it so much. Yeah, I love it so much.
Yeah.
I love them so much. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, so my problem is the way my brain works and shoots off in 80 different directions. We need a time machine to like make
Mhm.
perfect casting. But obviously, the biggest Christmas gift of all is me casting Leonardo DiCaprio as
It's a
That
big
is
gift.
true. That
Potter.
is a Christmas miracle.
Santa came to
It
town.
is. Although
Yeah.
Bill Nye, he suddenly popped into my head. He would make a great
Yeah.
Potter as well.
For
Oh
some
my
reason,
gosh,
there's
oh
a
my
lot
gosh,
of
oh my gosh, oh my
British
gosh.
actors that would be perfect for an It's a Wonderful
Yeah.
Life remake.
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
Gary Oldman would be great too.
Yes, he
Yeah.
would.
Dracula British, especially now, he would be so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He could play every single character and he'd do it well.
He
A Gary
could.
Oldman one-man
I want
show
to
of
see
It's a
him in
Wonderful Life.
Mary. Let's see him as Mary.
Yeah, he could do it. He
Yeah.
could do it. Anyway, I'm so
good.
sorry. You know that
love
I'm
it.
going to go off on a million directions.
No,
That's
that's
what you
great.
sign up for when you have
Yep.
Sarah on the show.
It's wonderful. And
But
this was good. It
there you go.
was so great.
I
That
I
is.
couldn't commit to anything. I love that you guys were like, no, I picked one person. I'm like, I can't pick just one person.
And that's why you were perfect to come on this. And I also think that's the perfect segment to end it on as well. Because we're not topping that again. We're not. We're simply not. So, Clarissa, you first. Tell us what you've got coming up, and where we can find you.
I am just plugging away at episodes through my book. I'm hoping to write another book. What?
Buy
So,
it.
some fun.
Buy
There it
it.
is! Oh my gosh.
Love.
Oh, I'm so excited, but I'm thinking of a twist, more of like a film studies side of like the journal. What? Okay, so that's something that I'm kind of thinking about in the works for 2026. But yes, I am just chipping away at I've seen that one. I have a really fun, amazing, awesome, can't wait to record it Christmas special with Sara Shea coming up. We're doing a golden age Christmas, so we will be talking about It's a Wonderful Life quite a bit. But we're going to
Naturally.
talk about, oh yeah, we're going to talk about like different tiers of golden age Christmas movies of like, here are the absolute classics. Here are some that are like mid classics, and then here are some that like happen during a Christmassy time that you should watch that you might not know about. So if you're looking for like a good experience of like, I don't know enough golden age, but I love White Christmas, I love Holiday Inn, I love Meet Me in St. Louis, we're gonna dive into some more of those movies and make a list for you.
Love
So
that.
that will be super exciting. And yeah, those are my things. So you can find me at I've seen that one.
That is awesome. Sarah, how about yourself?
Yeah. So, yeah, super excited about this episode, Christmas episode coming up with Clarissa. Always so fun to hang out with my movie BFF. And I know that probably it's going to be a while, but I think we are going to be on her show together, Morgan, in the
Yes, we
future.
are
I
doing
do
Shutter
believe,
Island.
which is
Yes.
a Leo movie.
Leo.
Leo.
A Leo movie, which is a movie that Clarissa brought me to the dark side on. And so but coming up, like by the time this is out, I do believe that me, Clarissa and I did Frankenstein with Movies and Us, and so that should be coming out any day now, which
I
was
can't wait for that.
such a fun experience. Like,
So great.
whoa. Okay. So Jen and Sarah are wonderful and delightful. Again, getting to hang out with Clarissa is always a blast. And talking about what was my most anticipated movie of 2025 was so perfect. Getting out new episodes of our show with my dad. Next episode to come out actually will be with Clarissa talking about 42nd Street. I had some technical issues with it, so working on that. And then I'll have more episodes with my dad coming out as well. So other than that, I'm, like, appearing on everybody else's shows more than I'm doing my own show, which
You're a very
is
in-demand guest.
I don't know if I actually I part of me feels like people are just like, "Ah, we feel bad for her. Let's have
No,
her
no,
on." I don't know if I actually
No,
contribute to the
no.
you
conversation.
do. What? 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 Wow. Yeah, we love you, Sara Shea. We all want you.
Thank you. Well, and what it means is too is that having guests on our show is good, and we need to have more of them. So, Morgan, our schedule is decided for the next 97 years. So if there's a movie that you want to come and join us on,
I'll have to have a
one
look through. Yeah, yeah.
Uh, yes. So great.
yeah.
That is great. But yeah, I hope everybody who's listening and watching enjoyed listening to us ramble and talk about and cry about It's a Wonderful Life, which I feel is the only correct emotional response when talking about this film. But yeah, as for me, Hall of Film nominations and votings is now on a halt until post Oscars, because I'm going to be doing a lot of stuff in the lead to the Oscars, and also will be doing a watch along live stream, which I hope people will be able to join me on, because last year was fun until it was 4:30 a.m. and I was by myself and I was losing the will to live. But other
See, the
than that, it
time
was great. Yeah,
I'm like, the
yeah.
time difference would be so painful for you. Oh
Luckily,
my
this
good.
year it's
Yeah.
starting apparently at 11 p.m. my time, which is beautiful. Please do that. The Academy. I hope they do.
Wow.
Hopefully they
Yeah.
do. But yeah, I will be doing Oscar related videos, and I'm sure that Sarah and Clarissa will be on here many more times. And yeah, you can catch us all on our social medias and podcasts. And I will see you all guys in the next one.